right, 25 minutes before 11 o'clock. Thank you for tuning in. John Fuller is in the studio. John is an attorney at the law firm of Fuller & Fuller here in Ocala, and he's here in our studios to answer your legal questions. The date today is Wednesday, October 21st, 2015. I tell you that because you know if it's the same date on your calendar that you're listening to a live show, and you're invited to call in. The number is 622-9622. We'll give you the phone number for Fuller & Fuller in just a little bit. But right now, let's say good morning to John. Good morning, John.
Hey, Larry. How are you? It's good to see you. It's good to be back live in the studio with you. I had some schedule conflicts, some travel, some court dates, and it's been several weeks. So it's nice to be back. I don't think we should start our show today without acknowledging that in the last 3-4 weeks, while I've been otherwise tied up and couldn't be here live, that two very dear and beloved people in our community passed away.
Yes, sir.
Number one, who was a regular and diligent listener of this show, who called in with intriguing questions from time to time, Mr. Bruce Mosert, who was a legend in his own time and was probably one of the most single-handedly important people in creating the magic of Silver Springs from the beauty of nature and his talented ability to capture it and to share it with the country and world at large was nothing short of brilliance. And it still is top of the line because when you compare it to the plastic and the artificiality of Disney World and the other theme parks, it's all made out of glass, plexiglass, and electronics, where Bruce showed Silver Springs to be made by nature, God, higher being. I'll let anybody fill in the blank on that. But he was a kind man, multi-talented man. When I started flying and got my pilot's license in the 70s, Bruce was flying his own plane, shooting photographs. Sometimes he would get someone to fly for him while he put on a harness and hung way out the door. He would take the door off the airplane and hang way out of the door of an airplane. And he wasn't a young man then. I mean, it was in the 70s. So he was a dear person. I can't say that he was a friend because I didn't know him that personally, but I knew his family, and I've known him. My parents knew him for many years, and our sympathies go out to his family. And for those of our listeners who may not have been in Ocala very long or appreciated some of that historical perspective, I hope you take note, because Mr. Mosert was a nice man, which is the most important thing, and he was a genius in his craft. And I want to say, and this is certainly not in any particular order, because the next gentleman I did know, and he was a close friend, and I have known him literally all my life, was Mr. Jim Jernigan, who was the owner of Jim Jernigan's studio here, who was a master photographer. Started when he got out of the service as a very young man. I know he took masterful photographs for decades, because he photographed me when I was 6 months old, and I'm 68, almost 68. And he photographed our son when he was 6 months old. And every significant event in Ocala, whether it was commercial photography, family portraits that were won prizes all over the country, Mr. Jernigan, only of late years was he insistent that I call him Jim. He and his family set the bar higher than anybody else in the state of Florida and throughout the country in commercial photography. And he started out in a black and white world with 35 millimeter, went through right on up to the present time with digital photography. When Janet and I opened our new law firm in June of 2011, we had portraits taken by Jim, who was doing it, insisted on coming in and doing ours, And it's on our website.
I've seen it.
Fuller and Fuller at ocala-lawyer.com. That photograph of Janet and I was taken by Jim Jernigan 4 years ago. And he was a dear friend. Our love, care, affection, sympathy all go out to his family. He always had a smile on his face. He never met someone he didn't like. He could make little kids smile and express their emotion in a photograph and capture it better than anybody I have ever seen. And he contributed so much to this community. In the early ages of our horse farm equine career, he photographed the first of the thoroughbred horses for advertising all over the country to put the thoroughbred market on the map from Ocala, Florida, back when it was just in its infancy. And his photography was instrumental in that. So our deep sympathies and love go out to his lovely wife, his 3 children, and their whole extended family.
Wow, 2 really nice tributes, John. That was wonderful. The 2 men have something in common. They both took photographs.
Yes.
Photographs are considered intellectual property, so that's a good way to parlay into the legal part of this conversation. When a person dies, is the intellectual property still...
Becomes an asset of his estate.
Of his estate, okay. So it doesn't just...
I don't profess to know copyright laws and patent laws and things like that. That's a specialized area. But yes, copyrighted, and that's why you see when you go get professional photography done, when they give you the little book to select from the number of shots that they've taken in the set or the sitting, whatever they call it, they always have proof stamped across it, so that
you can't
someone doesn't try to go and
copy it
and do that, and then you go and pick out what you want and you pay for it, and at the bottom they have a copyright or a logo, and it's a point of personal pride to look back at all of the photographs in our home of my parents before I was born, our family, our kindergarten graduation, high school graduation, undergraduate college graduation, law school graduation, wedding, birth of your child, every significant event for hundreds of Marion County families going back to, I know, before 1948, because that's when he took my photograph the first time when I was 6 months old, have been captured, and the magic remains because of the caring genius of Jim Jernigan.
Wonderfully said. We are almost up to the halfway point break, so if you want to call in, you still have a good 15 minutes to ask John some legal questions. The number is 622-9622. We had a gentleman in here earlier talking about job opportunities for people who have Social Security disability benefits so that they won't lose their benefits. I guess sometimes you lose them if you take a job, and other times you don't. He was from CareerSource, and it was interesting because I know that's what your wife does.
Janet Fuller does that, and that's a very complex. She focuses her entire practice primarily on that. The Florida Bar just changed its rule that you don't have to be board certified to say you specialize in an area, as long as it's independently verifiable. And Janet certainly does that, and she knows that body of law. And if anybody has questions, they can certainly call and ask her.
We will take a little break right now and be right back. You're listening to WOCA The Source. The show is called Legally Yours, and John Fuller is your host for the next 15 minutes. If you want to call in today, just as a reminder, is Wednesday, October 21st, 2015. John is live in the studio on that date. If that's the same date on your calendar, then you're listening to a live show, and your calls are invited. 622-9622.
The weather is brought to you by myfwc.com. Safe boating is no accidents. It'll be partly sunny today and increasingly windy. Watch out for a shower, high 80 to 84. Partly cloudy tonight with less wind. There can be a shower along the coast, low 64 and a few inland spots, 73 at the beaches. For tomorrow and Friday, partly sunny and breezy with a passing shower each day. High of both days, 82 to 86. From the Florida Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Joe Lundberg.
Ocala Aviation now has opportunities for flight instructors.
Wait, hold on, Brad, is this correct? You're looking for instructors, not students?
Actually, we're looking for both.
Well, that's descriptive.
Well, I need flight instructors because we're now affiliated with a major university and can offer 4-year degrees. Plus, we're also approved to work directly with VA students.
Okay, so a degree in what, and what's a VA student?
Well, it's a bachelor's degree in aeronautics, which includes a commercial pilot's license, and there's financial aid available. By VA students, I mean veterans. They now have access to new benefits to pay for flight training.
Okay, so you have new opportunities for new students. What about the instructor side of it?
Well, with new students, we need more instructors.
Well, yeah, that makes sense.
So, if anyone out there is a flight instructor, I want to encourage them to come see me. And if they're not an instructor but have their commercial license, we can help them become an instructor.
So they get their instructor license and have a job too.
Exactly.
So you got a lot going on. The VA, the college, and now hiring instructors and future instructors too.
Yep. So now can we get the commercial started?
Already ahead of you.
Call Brad to get your adventure started today at Ocala Aviation, 861-7484.
Need a mailbox rental but need more information? Remember Personal Service Center, 789-6683. How does $10 a month sound with just a 3-month commitment? Remember Personal Service Center, 789-6683. Mention WOCA and the setup fee is waived. Personal Service Center will email or text notifications to you when your packages arrive. Even scan mail so you never actually have to pick it up. Now that's service. Personal Service Center, 789-6683. Located on the corner of Northeast 25th Avenue and 24th Street, Ocala. Look for the yellow signs.
Ooh, ouch. Does pain have you glued to the couch? Yes, unfortunately it's true that every year we must get older, but that doesn't mean we have to deal with pain in our back, knees, or shoulder. If your muscles and joints are sore, don't worry anymore. Come get acupuncture from me and you'll be pain-free. Acupuncture starts as low as $35 at a Better You Healthcare. Call me, Dr. Erica Olstein, at 615-5566. Stop your pain from driving you insane.
One of the most common questions those nearing retirement are asking: will I outlive my money? Retirement questions like these and many more will be answered every Saturday morning at 9 a.m. on Planning for a Better and Safer Retirement with hosts Francois and Julian Pozenet. Francois and Julian will help you put your retirement puzzle together. Catch Planning for a Better and Safer Retirement Saturdays at 9 a.m. on Ocala's News Talk, The Source 96.3 FM and 1370 AM.
All right, 12 minutes before 11 o'clock. John Fuller is here. The show is called Legally Yours. And again, the date is October 21st, 2015. If you're listening on that date, then you're listening to a live show. And your calls are invited. The number is 622-9622. You know, during the break, we were talking about the county. We were talking about the contributions of the two men that you mentioned in the first part of the show and how the county has changed so much. And I'm wondering, you've been here long enough, did you see the change happen for the worse or for the better when the interstate was put in? And
well, I think like most answers, and I'm not being equivocal, I think the change was inevitable. You know, if you were talking about prosperity, because we had the auto vehicle was growing.
Yeah.
When I was a child, every truck, tractor trailer truck, automobile that was going from anywhere in the north to Tampa, Miami, Orlando funneled through downtown Ocala on what was then called Magnolia Street, which is still Magnolia.
That's where they were, huh?
First Avenue was called Main Street. Huh. And they would come roaring through there. The courthouse was where the downtown square is, where they now hold various activities. First Friday, which I think you and Robin were delightfully playing at and had your picture in the paper not too long ago. And but that was our courthouse, and every business, grocery store, barber shop, drugstore, doctor's offices, dentist's offices, shoe stores, clothing stores, they all surrounded that downtown square. So it was the heart and soul of our community. Yes. And was there something joyous about that? Yes. Everybody knew everybody. We were truly kind of a Norman Rockwell small town, if you will. And I know that I'm not idealizing that. You know, there was poverty in places, there was crime in places. Tragically, there was segregation and discrimination that was far more prevalent in those days, which I think we've come a long way. I know my friends in the African American community certainly remind me that we've got ways to go and progress to be made, but you know, that was part of the life. Florida, you drove out of town. State Road 200 was a 2-lane country road surrounded by horse farms. You go north, and there were lush orange groves everywhere. On Orange Lake and Lake Weir and everywhere. The citrus was a huge industry. We had Swift Manufacturing here that did a meat packing company, and Libby McNeil and Libby, which made concentrate orange juice to ship all over the country. It was the Tropicana orange juice of this area. They had railroad spurs and cars and so forth. When I-75 came in, it largely killed downtown Ocala. And I think one of the things our local government's done is to help revitalize downtown Ocala, because it wasn't that many years ago that downtown Ocala was nothing but a bunch of storefronts. What really was kind of the death knell of the core downtown, which is revitalized a lot lately, was the invention of the shopping center. Pine Street Plaza was the Pine Street Shopping Center that opened in 1960, and everybody rushed to move out there. The little downtown toy store, Belk's, Sears, Western Auto, all those stores used to be in downtown Ocala. And they all rushed out to the shopping centers, and there's one on Silver Springs Boulevard. I forget the name of it, but it's where you know, on the left,
where Laredo's is.
Yeah, where Laredo's is.
Right.
You know, that was the second one, and everybody made a big rush to go there. Rhinor's, which was a prominent, top-of-the-line women's boutique store. They had 5 stores throughout Florida owned by the Rhinor family, managed by the Sands family. They moved out there. And downtown Ocala just dried up into a ghost town with boarded-up storefronts, a lot of people who were in bad shape, sleeping on the streets. People were afraid to go to downtown Ocala. The lighting was poor. The vagrants and people, homeless people, were sleeping in storefronts that were closed. It was not an attractive place. So that came not so much with I-75, but it came with the moving out towards I-75, and
wow.
So you know, that's kind of sad. You know, what I think is happening and what can happen is you can have it both. And I think a town that has done it better than any place I've ever seen is Naples, Florida, where Janet grew up. Their downtown in the late 1980s was getting a lot like that, but they hired a great architect and city planner. Tragically, he came up here to Ocala and offered the same type of plan to Ocala 20 years ago, and was rejected by our governmental officials. But he went down and go to Fifth Avenue or just Google it and look at pictures. They have restaurants on the ground floor. They have a hotel. They have professional office buildings on the second floor, and they have beautiful townhouses on the third floor, or apartments on the condominiums on the third floor.
Really?
And they've limited the height of their buildings to 3 stories. And it's all landscaped beautifully, and they've got a nice, and have had one since it was an integral part of his design plan 25 years ago, magnificent parking garage, which we keep thinking about that too. We've been in extended, protracted labor pains over a parking lot in this city ever since I've been practicing law here. And for some reason, maybe now somebody's been able to pull the trigger on it. But I mean, it's been.
Yeah.
I mean, and of course, I'm not a city planner, and I don't specialize in governmental or zoning law. But I don't think it takes a rocket scientist to figure out that if you want to go and give your business to a restaurant or a retail place, and you drive around for about 35 minutes and you can't find a parking place within about 8 blocks of it on a dark street that you've got to walk back to after you enjoy your meal or your shopping or whatever, that you're probably not going to be too enamored with that.
No, absolutely right. And some people say, well, we only really need it during Light Up Ocala and a couple of other big highly attended events, but I think you're right. I think it is all year long.
You remember that movie Field of Dreams?
Yeah.
Well, if you build it, they'll come. Think about it.
And that's what they're doing. They're doing a pretty good job, I think.
I'm delighted with what I read.
Yeah.
I may be a little bit jaundiced. I remember when we had opportunities at other major industries and developments.
Yeah, well, that too.
And I remember the not too many years ago where somebody from South Florida came up here who apparently was not adequately vetted or due diligence done, and there was a little bit of dirt work done, and the city gave him a lot of money, and he disappeared, and then they had a huge lawsuit and lost a ton of money. Well, I mean, we all make mistakes, and hindsight always works 20/20, and I'm certainly not sitting here criticizing anybody, but government is too complex and too big to do that. And honestly, while we're just talking, we've got to do something to get revenue in. Our roads are I mean, I hear this from my clients all the time, and my friends and my colleagues. The roads are abysmal because there's no money to maintain them. Our firefighters and paramedics are the worst paid in the state. Our law enforcement officers, who I used to do a lot of criminal defense law, and let me tell you, the cases that were in large time lost were lost because law enforcement didn't have the resources or the trained personnel to properly put the case together. Then everybody says, some sharp lawyer got that guy off on a technicality. Well, you get what you pay for. You go out and you hire talented people to do a good job. The system works better. The quality of life goes up. Jim Schneider, a very good friend of mine, and was the president of Signature Brand and the board chairman of the hospital here for years, had traveled all over the world as an international Fortune 500 businessman who bought and merged millions of dollars worth of companies throughout the world, Germany, Hong Kong, America. He said, whenever people are talking about merging or building or coming to do business here, they ask about 3 things. They ask about education, they ask about health care, they ask about schools, and they ask about law enforcement. Well, that's 4 things. 5 out of 4 lawyers can't do math anyway. But Jim made a very good point. And I mean, nobody likes to hear raise taxes, but you get what you pay for.
Absolutely. Well, I enjoyed today's show.
Yeah, I did too. I understand that we didn't have people call in because I've been kind of tied up, and you lose momentum with people calling. I hope some people listened. It's a joy to be back, and always a joy to talk to you, Larry.
And such a wonderful tribute to those 2 great men.
Jim Jernigan and Bruce Moser. God bless them.
John Fuller, thank you so much. Really quickly, if you could, give us your phone number so we can call you.
Okay, sure. The number at our office here in Ocala is 352-547-4292. Our toll-free number is 855-534-2565. You can find out all about us on our website, ocala-lawyer.com. And in closing, I will say that I was very gratified last week, to get the continuation of my civil trial board certification, which I have been continuously board certified as a civil trial lawyer in Florida since 1985. Wow. And this will be my 30th year cycle And out of 104,000 lawyers in Florida, I believe that there's about 6% who are board certified. So I felt very gratified for the clients who have given me the opportunity and the privilege to represent them when they needed a trial lawyer.
Well, thank you, and congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Sounds like that's in order. Thank you again. Call us if you need John's number repeated. We'll be glad to do that for you over the phone. And be sure to share the videos that John makes each time he's on the air with us here. They're all on the WOCA YouTube channel. We will take a little break, and we'll be right back.
Thanks, Larry.
Broadcasting from the Paddock Mall Studios, this is WOCA, Ocala, Gainesville, The Villages, 1370 AM, 96.3 FM, The Source.
Last night, Fox News, we report, you decide.
You know the story of Hansel and Gretel, where Hansel left breadcrumbs on the trail so they could find their way back?